The following is an encore presentation of a pre-recorded program. Chats and evaluations were only available during the live presentation. To join one of CJE SeniorLife's many live presentations, please visit cje.net/events, call 773-508-1000, or follow us on your favorite social media platform.
Welcome, everyone. It is so lovely to have you here. This is CJE SeniorLife's Insights on Aging program. My name is Lisa Andrews. I am a clinical supervisor in the Counseling Services Department at CJE, and we are the sponsors of this community education program. We want everyone to be aware that we are offering counseling services right now via telehealth with a video connection, as well as in person in our Rogers Park and Deerfield offices. We provide individual, family, group therapy, as well as a variety of groups. We're still following COVID protocols to reduce unnecessary exposure for clients and staff. And if you want more information on these services and how to access them, or if you want to contact me directly, we'll be providing contact information at the end of the program. So it is my pleasure to welcome you to this Insights on Aging program, Connection, Communication, and Dementia, with my colleagues Melissa Gelfand, Director of Community Services at CJE, and Roseanne Corcoran, Manager of Counseling Services. If there are any professionals in the audience today, I want to let you know right at the start that we don't offer any professional CEUs for this program. These community education programs are part of an effort by CJE and our counseling services team to highlight the aging and mental health issues that we see. Our goal is to provide essential information to individuals and families that we serve. Please be aware that all Insights on Aging programs are recorded and available on our website. If you provided an email when you registered for the program, you'll be sent a follow-up email with a link to this recording on our webpage, as well as any other handouts or documents shared today. So we will be sharing the slides, as well as a resource list of all kinds of resources for people living with dementia and their care partners. So that will go out via email later today. Since this program is being recorded and shared publicly, there are higher privacy features in place, and your live participation will be anonymous. You'll not be able to see other participants, and when you use the Q&A feature, your name will not be shared. We do encourage you to participate and use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen and ask any questions of the speakers. The chat feature is disabled for participants. Please be aware that we have also enabled auto transcribing and closed captioning for today's program. In order to use these closed captioning features, you will need to turn this feature on manually on your device. You can do so by selecting the CC live transcript icon at the bottom of your screen. You can either select subtitles or full transcript view, and you can adjust the font size to fit your personal needs. So we will be monitoring the Q&A and can address an issue if there is an issue that arises and is critical to address sooner than later. Otherwise, we will take questions from participants at the end of the program. So, on to our program. Today, we're going to talk about communication, connection, and dementia. Please be assured that a copy of the presentation slides will be emailed to everyone who registered for today's program. As well, a program evaluation will pop up as you are leaving the presentation. So please do give us feedback on the presentation today and any ideas that you have for future topics. Okay. Now on to the technical moment where I start sharing my screen. Show you our slides for today. So welcome everyone. Again, I'm Lisa Andrews, LCSW, Clinical Supervisor of Counseling Services. And I'll also be joined by my colleague, Melissa Gelfand, Director of Community Services. Okay, so on our agenda today, we have a couple different things. So first, what is dementia? What is person-centered care? Tips for connecting and communicating. And then Melissa will share with us some resources and we will take some questions and answers.
Lisa, I'm going to interrupt you for 1 minute. There is
Yes.
a gray bar showing up on the slideshow.
Yep. Okay. Stop sharing for a moment.
Just so we get it right. I know.
Yep.
It'll just be an irritant.
Yep. Okay.
Oh, now there are 3 gray bars.
Yeah, I'm working on it. That should be 2 of them gone.
Down. Okay.
Now,
Yep.
okay. Is that good?
No, now there are still. Okay, now we're good. Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you. I'll go away. Okay.
No problem. Thanks. Okay. So we're going to start by saying that much of what we hear about Alzheimer's and other types of dementia can be difficult to process. This diagnosis can be overwhelming for all involved. I do not want to ignore the reality and gravity of what dementia brings. After having worked with residents and families on a specialized Alzheimer's care unit, however, I'm passionate about the idea that people with dementia have a past, a present, and a future. Who a person is now is informed by who they have been at the various stages of their lives, and keeping close to that idea allows us to be better prepared for the future. Before we get into more detail about communication, I want to introduce this idea of person-centered care. And this slide here, in general, tells you about dementia before we get started. So it's a general term, kind of an umbrella term that describes a group of symptoms such as loss of memory, as well as changes in judgment, language, and complex motor skills. There are many types of dementia, but the most common are Alzheimer's disease and vascular dementia. Okay, with that said, we're going to move to this idea of person-centered care, which you may hear a lot about when talking to care providers about dementia care. Person-centered care provides a way of thinking about the person with dementia that focuses on the person first and foremost, not just the illness. So it's a philosophy of care that focuses on the individual and recognizes that a person with dementia is a person above all else. The term was first used by psychologist Thomas Kitwood in 1988 as an alternative to the medical model of dementia that focused on the decline. Person-centered care aims to focus on the psychological needs of a person with dementia and emphasizes the importance of communication and relationships. The focus is on self-worth of the person with dementia. So Kitwood's definition is that person-centered care, it emphasizes personhood. So what is that? He says it is a status, standing or status bestowed upon one human being by others in the context of particular social relationships. It implies recognition, respect, and trust. So this definition highlights the relationship between people. Personhood comes from someone recognizing that you're a person worthy of respect. If a person with dementia is seen as less than because of their memory loss or how they behave, we lose sight of their needs and who they are. Personhood reflects every individual's intrinsic uniqueness, but also recognizes that interdependence and also recognizes the interdependence and interconnectedness of human beings. So this also allows us to shift our focus from just an emphasis on loss and helps us consider the abilities and strengths that people with dementia still possess. So Kitwood's framework encourages care partners to focus less on what is done and more on how it is done. The philosophy of person-centered care focuses on what people with dementia need. Love is at the core, surrounded by comfort, attachment, inclusion, occupation, and identity. Individuals need comfort and warmth, especially during difficult moments. Individuals with dementia need to feel attachment, especially when a familiar place may start to seem less so. Individuals need to be included and involved in care and in life. Occupation emphasizes the need to be involved in past and current interests, which are sources of fulfillment and satisfaction. And finally, people with dementia need to have an identity, and their caregivers must help maintain this identity. These concepts were originally used to help reshape care in facility settings. So, what does that mean for us as friends, community members, family members of a loved one with dementia? We have to remember that the person with dementia is doing the best they can. We'll watch a short video later with renowned dementia expert Tika Snow, who says about half of people living with dementia don't recognize that they have the disease and are changing. So care partners need to let go of the idea that they can understand what's happening. We can get in a trap of thinking that people with dementia can see themselves clearly in a mirror of self-awareness. But it's important to remember they're not operating from a mindset of denial, but of brain changes. And that changes over the course of dementia, but really remembering that someone is doing the best that they can. Then the task is to get creative about how to meet these core needs. Remember all of the petals on that flower when we run into issues with communication. So everyone probably knows this, but just good to go over. What do we mean by communication, right? It's a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behaviors. So it includes not just the words we use, but our attitude, our tone of voice, facial expressions, and body language, all of that full picture of communication. We use communication to express our needs, our emotions, our perceptions, and our knowledge, and it's how we connect with others. So when dementia progresses, communication can become difficult. So what are the ways that communication is impacted when dementia comes into play? And there are two major ways. People with dementia sometimes often have trouble expressing themselves to others, and as well, trouble understanding what others say to them. So it's these two ways, the back and forth is affected. People with dementia may be able to understand more than they can express, or vice versa. We know that dementia is a progressive illness, so I want to talk about how the stages of dementia impact communication. So I want to lay out a general overview of the stages of dementia, as these provide a guide in how to communicate. So there are many different ways that people stage dementias. Some doctors use 7 stages, some use a 5-stage model, some use all different kinds of language. But for today, we're just going to keep it simple and talk about early, middle, and late stage dementia. These stages are based on the typical progression of Alzheimer's, which is the most common form of dementia. Other forms, such as vascular dementia or frontotemporal dementia, progress at a different pace and often with somewhat different symptoms. So it's important to keep in mind that this is just a very general framework, and that it may be difficult to place a person with Alzheimer's in a specific stage, as stages may overlap, as a different form of dementia may have different symptoms and progression associated with it. So we're just going to keep it very basic today. So let's talk a little bit about dementia. In the early stage, a person may be aware of memory lapses, and others may notice as well. The person with dementia may still be driving, working, and engaging in usual activities. So where do we run into issues during this stage? Typically, word-finding problems, trouble remembering names, difficulty with tasks in work or social settings, forgetting something that someone just read, losing or misplacing items, and trouble planning or organizing. And it is important to remember here that just because you have some of these symptoms does not mean you have dementia. So it's important to, if you have concerns, consult with your doctor or neurologist. This I'm talking about specifically people who have been diagnosed and know they're in the early stage of an Alzheimer's dementia. So what are some communication tips for when family members, friends, community members, caregivers are communicating with somebody in the early stages of dementia? So the first thing is not to make assumptions. This disease affects people in many different ways. So don't assume that it's the dementia. Attend to other things as well. One of the big ones is to not exclude the person from conversations. To remember that concept of personhood, that we're thinking about the model of the person first, not the illness. And sometimes people have a tendency to talk about someone with dementia in front of them. Sometimes that can happen in medical settings as well. You want to make sure not to exclude the person from conversations. Speak directly to the person. That's another thing you can do. It kind of goes along with not excluding. Give someone time to respond. So at this point, the brain is changing and the person with dementia may need time to process incoming information. Slow down and see if that helps information. People in the early stage of dementia may feel overwhelmed by lots of noise, have trouble finding the right words, or repeat stories without realizing. So give them time to respond, especially if there's a lot of stimulation, environment, a lot of people, noise, etc. Don't forget to laugh. It is okay and good practice to still recognize there's humor and fun. And don't pull away. I think it can be really hard to face when a diagnosis, especially if it's new, that sometimes people tend to pull back or pull away. And this is actually the time when you want to try and show up. Right. So let's talk about the middle stage. This is the longest stage and can last for many years. This is the stage where we'll focus on most of the tips because it is the longest and is often experienced by the person with dementia and their family, care partners as challenging as there are more noticeable changes at this point. People may accept words, become frustrated or angry more easily, and act in unexpected ways due to damage to nerve cells in the brain. So some common difficulties during this stage include perhaps forgetting events in one's own life history, feeling moody or withdrawn, confusion about place and times and disorientation, needing more help with daily tasks. That's not to mean that they can't still be done, but you may need to get creative about how to work with someone to help them accomplish tasks of daily living. There may be changes in sleeping patterns, and in Alzheimer's, but more prominently in other types of dementia as well, changes in personality or behavior. So this is a lot to take on. And again, these things fluctuate throughout this middle stage. So it's important to just keep in mind you may experience all of these, some of these, not all at once at different points. So what are some of the tips that we can think about when communicating with someone with dementia who's at the middle stage? Again, a repetition from the last stage, allow time for the person to respond. People with dementia generally communicate more easily when they're relaxed, so don't rush. Nobody likes to feel rushed, but you can pick up on it in conversations when someone's harried and they're trying to get the information quickly. As hard as that can be, that's more likely to agitate someone with dementia who's already perhaps disoriented or confused a little bit about what's going on. So give time to respond and be patient. Make sure that the person can hear you. Often the best way to communicate at this point is to have a one-on-one conversation in a quiet space. You can also use devices like a pocket talker or something that amplifies your voice, because some of that sensory loss can contribute. It might not all be dementia, maybe hearing loss, the person can't tell you that. So you want to make sure that they can hear you. Tone. So be aware of the tone of your voice. A lower pitched voice is often easier to hear than a higher pitched voice. And if you're speaking in a higher pitched voice, it can actually signal that the speaker is upset. You may not be aware that you're conveying that tone, but it's another thing to think about. Don't ask too much at once. So offer clear step-by-step instructions when you have a request. Don't ask multiple questions in a row, and try to use yes or no questions. Give somebody 2 or 3 choices instead of asking an open-ended question. It can be hard to follow, hard to respond to, may make somebody feel put on the spot. And also give visual cues like writing things down, showing pictures that may be more easily understood. So many changes going on in the brain. So if asking with words isn't helping, picking up, if you're trying to ask someone to get their jacket on, holding up the jacket, giving some visual cues. And also try writing down what you want to say. Overall, the idea is to be patient and offer comfort and assurance as some more communication tips. So really to preface these, the middle stage often brings what people refer to as dementia behaviors. And I use that in quotes because it's often used to label things that we don't understand or that don't make sense or frustrate us as a care partner, family, friend. So by behaviors, what I just mean are unpredictable actions that sometimes occur in later stages. Some individuals can become more anxious, more aggressive. Others can repeat certain questions or gestures. Many people with dementia in this later stage misinterpret what they hear, or maybe experience some suspiciousness or delusions, which are firmly held beliefs in things that are not real to us, not in their mind. So when this happens, remember to avoid arguing or correcting. It's important to understand that the person is not trying to be difficult, and this behavior, all behavior, is a form of communication. All behavior is communicating a need. So this is where we have to accept the person's reality and get creative to understand what this behavior is trying to communicate. So some of the ways that you can do that are to acknowledge, validate the feelings, give a brief response, and if needed, redirect, change topics. Not going to argue or correct. You're going to think about what this person might be, whether it's a physical need, an emotional need, and validate that, respond, acknowledge it, and redirect. And for things that someone's really asking a lot of questions about, like it can be pretty common for people to ask about someone who's no longer living, right? If somebody with dementia is asking, like, I want to go see my mom, and you know that their mother has not been alive for a long time, you're going to try to reflect the feelings underneath that message, like, oh, you must really miss her, or tell me what she was like. I'd love to get to know who she is. And that's going to, that emotional need of wanting to feel attached and connected and perhaps safe, depending on the person's relationship or what the content of this is, but that's going to validate the feelings and perhaps move somebody away from something that's distressing, like I need to go see my mom, and move them into feelings of connection. This is how you communicate that, not arguing or correcting, but really reflecting and connecting with the feelings underneath. I will say that the Alzheimer's Association is a great resource for further info on this topic. They have a whole section about different kinds of behaviors that can be typical or frustrating or just sad for caregivers and care partners. And they have a lot of great tips. That information is included in our resource packet today, so you'll go away with that information. They have a hotline where people with dementia and care partners can call and talk through some of this stuff. So now moving on to late stages of dementia, the later stage. So this can last anywhere from several weeks to several years. Again, we're just talking a very broad overview of dementia. At this advanced stage, the person may speak less often and may eventually rely entirely on nonverbal communication. And at this stage, nonverbal is often like vocal sounds or facial expressions. So you're really going to be looking to the person mostly non-verbally at this point. And at this stage, this is when a person may start to require 24-hour care or just like intense care. So when we get to this point with somebody with dementia, what are some of the tips? What are some of the things that we can do? So remember that the person is still present. Avoid treating the person as if they are not there. Remember personhood, that flower, all of those petals, thinking about the needs, the person with the past, a present, and that they're still there. Be aware of your physical approach. So we'll get into this next with a video from Tipa Snow. This applies to all stages, but is especially important at late and middle stage of dementia, your physical approach, which is part of your own communication, your body language. Also encourage nonverbal communication. So use the 5 senses to connect. Make eye contact, play favorite music, bring in familiar or comforting scents, provide visual stimulation, like with those paintings or things around the room. And also, it is okay to be unsure of what to say at this point. Often just your presence can be comforting, so try not to put so much pressure on yourself. It's okay to just be there. So now we're going to watch a video from Tipa Snow. She is an occupational therapist. She's been working with people with dementia and other forms of memory loss for over 40 years. If you don't know her already, I would highly recommend that you get to know her work. You Google her. She has a website. There's a ton of her videos available for free online. So I'm going to transition now to sharing my screen with that video. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Video with you, so I will make sure these boxes go away.
What we're going to do now is work on some skill building. And Thaddeus, if I could have you come up and join me in the chair. As we've sort of given you the hint, the big change that you're going to have by the end of the day is how you interact. Okay? And we're going to start off with your approach, because how you approach people makes a big difference in what happens next. One of the first things that we sometimes do with people with dementia is we come up from behind them and we'll just touch them. Okay, or let me just do something for you here. Thaddeus, how's this working for you?
It's okay.
It's okay? You okay with that? All right, you doing all right? Not bothering you at all?
Not yet.
Not yet? How long would it take?
Just a little while.
Little low, and what would you feel like doing? What do you sort of feel like getting away, okay? Human beings are pretty much hardwired to protect themselves. And one of the things we don't like is when things come up and we can't see them coming. It makes us very uncomfortable, okay? And it actually elicits an automatic reaction, okay? It's called flight, fight, or fright. Now, imagine instead of being in a nice, comfortable classroom, we're in a dark part of town, late at night, you've locked your keys in your car. You start to hear and feel something come up behind you then. Now what?
Now I just want to run.
Now you just want to run, okay? And some folks tend to be more flight people, fight people, or fright. If you're a fight person, what's going to happen? You're going to turn around and get popped or yelled at, that kind of thing. What if you're a flight person? They're going to take off, okay? And what if you're a fright person? You just totally freeze up. And you will see people literally, when they're approached and they have dementia, they'll latch onto a chair and they can't let go. And that's fright. That's just pure fright. So let me do one more thing here. Hey, Thaddeus.
Hey, Tuba.
Do I look as good as I think I do? And the reason I don't is I'm too close. I'm at a funny angle. My eyes are tipped to the side. And it's really difficult to sort of figure out what's going on here. When might this happen? When can you see this sort of happening?
Wheelchair or?
Wheelchairs. You come up behind people in wheelchairs? Yeah, where else?
At a table.
At a dining table. Yeah, that happens a lot. I recognize Thaddeus and I say, hey, Thaddeus, how you doing today? And with lack of impulse control, I might get myself in trouble. So the first rule on approach is always come from within visual range. Always approach where they can see you. Give them a chance to know you're coming. So you want to come from the front so that they know you're coming in. Now he can process the information, sort of figure out, oh, there's somebody coming, if he's capable of doing that, if his brain's still able to do that. Now pull your feet back, Thaddeus, for this next one. Okay, you ready? All right, you ready? You sure you're ready? Okay. He was ready. What happened?
We all kind of went back.
Y'all kind of went back in sympathy, right? Coming in too fast, not giving him time to figure out what's going to happen results in, Thaddeus already told us, he tends to flight. He wants to get away. So what was he doing? Trying to get away. Now, somebody who tends to be a fighter, what might I see? Push me back away or grab me and try to shake me or do something to me. Who started it? I did, okay? I came in too fast. Now, I'm not saying that caregivers race up, but in the mind of somebody who is damaged with Alzheimer's disease, it feels like you're coming in really fast. The other thing I do is, okay, Thaddeus, let's get those shoes off, because, come on, pull your, Thaddeus, come on now, let's get your, okay, because I know what I want to have done, and I never check in with Thaddeus and make sure he knows what I want to do. And so what happens is conflict, because I came in too fast. So the rule is come from the front, okay? Second rule is go slow. And it's 1 second, 1 step. So it's 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3. It gives him a chance to figure out what's going on. Okay. Now, we've come from the front, we go slow, still have an opportunity to ruin it. I'm going to stand right in front of him, and I'm going to smile real big. How's that working for you, Thaddeus?
Kind of awkward.
Kind of awkward. Uh-huh. Yeah, what about if I do this?
You know, I think I've done something wrong.
How about if I do this?
I know I've done something.
Yeah, because it takes you back to those days. This stance is actually called confrontational stance. Think about it in real life. When do you use it?
It's when you're disciplining a
When you
child.
want to get in somebody's face. You really are like trying to gain intimidation. Is that what we want to do with people with dementia? No, because it's going to call that kind of response that we don't want to see, which is the anger, the lack of impulse control. So instead of getting right here in confrontational stance, I want to move to the side. Feel different?
Yeah, you're more kind of where I can deal with you on my own terms.
What if you don't like what I'm saying? What can you do?
You just turn away.
Yeah. This stance is called supportive stance. Okay? I'm here to support him. Now, I want to maintain arm's reach. I don't want to be like this, because we're back to the same old problem. Arm's length, so that I could reach out like this. He feels a lot more comfortable with that. I'm less likely to get that automatic reaction. Okay? So to put it together so far, come from the front, nice and slow, and come to the side. Feel better?
Much.
You sure?
That was much
Okay.
better over there.
Much better. The other thing you'll notice is he smiled. Did that mean he was happy? What was it?
I was comfortable.
Yeah, that nervous kind of, it's sort of, you'll see people with dementia do that a lot with caregivers. They'll smile and they'll, doesn't mean they're happy. They're anxious and nervous and they're trying to figure out how to make this work. Now, here I am to the side, looks pretty good, but I want to get to eye level, right? What do you think?
You're too close.
Too close, too close. So bending over to get down doesn't work. What does work, however, hey, how's that feel?
It's much better because it's lower.
Who feels like they're in control?
I do.
That is.
Who am I? Who's in control?
You are.
Yeah, but did I actually give up anything here? But I did because that Thaddeus feels in control now. Who's more likely to cooperate with me?
I am.
Yeah, absolutely. I still have one more chance to ruin it here. Let me grab hold of him. Come on, let's go. What's the automatic reaction? Pull back. I want to make my job more difficult because it's not hard enough. That's a facetious question. What I really want to do is think about how can I get him to work with me. So instead, what I'm going to do is offer my hand out here and let him take my hand. Hey, who's more likely to cooperate with me? Somebody who's offered his hand or somebody who's been taken? Offer their hand because that signifies an interest in participating. So if I put it together, it's going to look like something like come from the front, go slow, get to the side, get low, offer your hand. Now I want to call the person by name, okay, to make sure he's connected with me.
Here for a limited time, new pocket.
All right. Let me go back to the slides. I hope you found that helpful. I really love Tika Snow's approach. I think she does an excellent job of laying out some of these things. Sure, there's no boxes anymore. Okay. I think she does a great job of showing the importance of nonverbal communication. So I wrote it down on the slide here so you have it for reference, but there's also a link to that video in the slides that you'll get. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Melissa. She's going to talk about resources for people with dementia.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. That was wonderful. My name is Melissa Gelfand, and I'm the Director of Community Services at CJE SeniorLife. And one of the programs that I oversee is our Adult Day Services program. For those who do not know what an Adult Day Service is, our program really focuses on providing a socialization experience and memory support for older adults who have a dementia diagnosis. We also serve clients who are socially isolated and who may not have a diagnosis of dementia, but have a need, other emotional needs that might not be met in traditional senior center style programming. Our location, we've just moved back after a really nice, beautiful renovation to our building. We're very, very excited. Just Monday, we reopened our program at 1015 Howard Street in Evanston. And we're really, really thrilled to be able to let people know that our doors are open. I think that one of the most important things that Adult Day Services provides is a community building experience. And I think after a lot of what Lisa has presented here today so perfectly is that having a cognitive impairment can be very isolating, and navigating your environment and navigating the community is not as easy as it used to be. At Adult Day Services, we provide a lot of memory support. We give our clients a chance to engage with one another and find that in this environment that their personhood is respected. It allows people to connect with others. Our Monday through Friday program is all in person. And we find that this has been, it's really a joy to come and see this program in action. It also provides respite for our family caregivers, as our day starts with a morning bus pickup based on your geographic area, or some families drive their loved ones in. And we start with a light breakfast in the morning. And then we move into our activities, our morning activities, which is everything from art and music therapy. We do have like a monthly meeting with the clients where they give us suggestions for activities. We have games and bingo and holiday celebrations and special events. Then around lunch, we serve a lunch meal every day, and then move on with more activities in the afternoon, and then a light snack, and clients go home. So it's just during the daytime, Monday through Friday. Some of the other services that we provide at ADS is that we do have personal care services available. So often, some of our clients will have, they'll need like a standby assist, or they'll need direction and support using the bathroom. We're also able to provide them with hands-on assistance with toileting. And we really have I feel like a very respectful and dignified way to approach that with our clients. Sometimes we just need to give reminders. Other people need a staff member to completely come into the bathroom and provide that assistance for them. We also have a registered nurse on site, and he provides wellness education for clients. He also is able to administer medications with a physician's order. And we also assist clients with their insulin. We do blood pressure checks, and we just do more of like a health monitoring. So one of the things that's nice there is that if we identify any concerns or changes in a client, in their behavior or in their abilities, or anything that we see that we're always evaluating, we reach out to families, and we have wonderful communication with our families who are our partners. The way a client will usually come to our process is we usually start with an in-person inquiry. Well, first of all, we do an inquiry over the phone, and then we schedule an in-person tour. And usually our families come with the client, and they take a tour of the building. We show the programs in action. We give you a tour, tell you all about what we have to offer. And then our clients are assessed so that we have a better understanding of what are their needs. We do a wandering assessment. We do a fall risk assessment. And we also ask for medical information, medications, and diagnoses so that we're aware of any other health conditions that clients may have. So that's a big part of what we do. And in addition to the programming piece, we also offer outings. We have volunteers. We have student interns. So it's always like every day is different at the program. That is what I can tell you. Our program is open 5 days a week, but people choose 3 days. Some people come 5, some come once a week. And I think the really important part about all that is that the clients really start to connect with one another. So I think that part of this process is as Lisa described about, how it takes people more time to adjust, to interpret their environment. I think when they come to the adult day services, we always encourage people when they sign up to come on a consistent basis, pick a couple of days that that are working and available, and then come for a month or two. So that the client can get adjusted and see the same people and get acclimated. And then we find that some of our clients, they just add a day, they're enjoying themselves. And then there's other clients where the group environment is not always a great fit, or for whatever reasons. But we do have an environment that is designed to cater to people who have needs such as these that we've been describing. So we have different rooms. One of our rooms is just for low stimulation. We don't have loud music in there. We keep things kind of quiet. We have some reclining chairs. We're also, working with clients and trying to meet them at their level and where they're at and what they need throughout the day. I also want to mention that our staff, we do have the nurse, we have a social worker, our program manager is also a social worker, and all of our staff, our bus drivers, our program aides, everybody from top to bottom has had extensive dementia training. We use a lot of the TIPA Snow videos about just how to approach people. And I do agree with everything that I said. When you're at the Adult Day Services program, nobody's in a hurry. Everything is really built around the needs of the client. And so there's no rush to get from one thing to another. We just kind of let things go. We have a structure, we have a schedule, and we have a lot of flexibility within that so that clients can feel that their needs are being met.
Melissa, we have a question that's a great question that just came in about Adult Day.
Sure.
And someone's asking, is the caregiver or family member allowed to stay with the person, or do they leave and come back? And also, what's the staff-client ratio?
Oh, those are great questions. So first of all, our program is really designed for clients to be dropped off and spend the day with us. So even if caregivers or families are providing their own transportation, if they live outside of our transportation boundaries, they usually drop off at the front door. A staff member will come out, help the client into the building, and then the family comes back at the end of the day. So that is how we typically run the program. And the second question?
The staff-client ratio?
Oh, right now I would say that with, I got to count for a minute. Okay. So right now, mostly our ratios are like maybe 7 clients for 1 staff, but we share a lot of the responsibilities. So, you'll always have multiple staff in a activity space. So for example, if the music therapist is doing her program and she's in one of the activity spaces, one of our aides will be in there with her. So if somebody needs toileting assistance, or if they, if they're having a hard time, or maybe it's too much for them, we can take them into a different activity that's a little bit quieter. So we all kind of work together as a team.
And I'm going to encourage us to kind of move along because I'm aware we've got some great questions in our Q&A. And we wanted to talk about all these other resources.
Sounds good. Okay. So let me just, one other thing I just want to throw in here is that the, our payer sources. So we do have a contract with the Illinois Department on Aging. And if people qualify for that, we also work with the Veterans Administration. Some clients have long-term care insurance policies that will cover Adult Day as a respite. And we also have a private pay fee for service. Okay, next slide.
And then we also wanted to let people know we have another Adult Day program. So Melissa's talking about the one in Howard, but CJE does have another program in Deerfield. And then we wanted to be sure that people are aware of memory cafes that are out there. These are online programs. They're great programs. There's information in the resource list that we're going to share. Everyone's going to get that resource list, plus the slides from today. That's going to have a lot of these resources. So we love our Adult Day programs. They're in person, but there are a lot of other opportunities.
Absolutely.
And Lisa had mentioned earlier that Alzheimer's Association helpline. We want to be sure everyone's aware. 24-hour helpline. It is wonderful.
It is staffed by licensed clinical social workers and actually located in downtown Chicago. They're wonderful. And I also wanted to say, I'm sure Melissa, you can attest to this as well, that music becomes such an important part. People really connect even when they're no longer verbal. So I found this Good Memories Sing-Along Cafe that's free via Zoom. And if you Google, you can usually find like choirs that are for people with cognitive impairment or dementia. A lot of them have gone away perhaps during COVID, but this one is still running free via Zoom. It's based out of Evanston, but anybody can join. So I wanted to pop that in there. All of that information is coming in.
Yes.
That's great.
Okay, next slide. We just want to also run over a few other ideas. And of course that, sometimes the group environment might be challenging for some clients. And so there's always in-home professional caregiving services, again, whether you pay for them privately or contract them through the Illinois Department on Aging, the VA, your long-term care insurance policies. Other folks have also utilized, there are also memory care and nursing homes that will give you a 24-hour respite. So plenty of those out in the community. And there are some funds available for that. A lot of support groups, and I know there's a list that'll be coming with at the end of the presentation. There's a lot of online support groups, including one from our Adult Day Center. I also want to just reiterate about caregiver training programs and education. I think that it's hard to navigate caring for people with an issue such as cognitive impairment. It's not the same as if somebody has a broken leg or they have the flu. You know what to do for those things, but a lot of these things are very challenging, and not everybody, it's just not something that you automatically know how to do. So there's lots of training and resources and things. The other thing that I just want to throw in at the end in terms of just other caregiving things is, hiring out, getting your groceries delivered, having a cleaning service for your house, relying on your faith and spiritual communities, getting involved with Meals on Wheels. Sometimes any of those little conveniences can really offset a lot of stress on anyone who's trying to provide care. So I wanted to include that as well. And finally, our CJE Intake department, we have a wonderful team of trained social workers. And if you call our 508-1000, they will be able to not only connect you to our adult day counseling, but many other programs and services, both within CJE and outside of CJE.
And really, that's a team of master's level social workers you cannot miss. When you call, they'll set up a time with you for an actual conversation. They will schedule
Absolutely.
a good length of time for a conversation and really dig with you to see, what do we have at CJE? What could you find in the community? They are there to help you figure out where to find answers. Just wonderful. And then we want to make sure, and the number for them is on the screen, 773-508-1000. That is our main number. Our concierge staff will connect you with a member of the intake team. And then we want to be sure to get to the questions and comments that people put in the Q&A. And thank you for your patience. We had a question really early in the program. Someone wanted to point out that we weren't mentioning Lewy body dementia, and you are absolutely right. We didn't do a deep dive here on the types of dementia intentionally because that's a whole other program. But of course, there are many, many types of dementia: Lewy body, frontotemporal, Huntington disease, the vascular dementias. Absolutely. And credit, yes, we did not cover that today, but we will in another program for sure.
There are some resources specific to those other types of dementia in our resource list. So support groups specifically for different types of dementia. And Alzheimer's Association also has information and resources for people with other types of dementias, not just Alzheimer's. So
that is great. And I'm going to take kind of some of the simpler comments. I see one with a great case example that we hopefully will get to, but I did want to mention people shared some other resources. So the Savvy Caregiver program, is that on our resource list, Lisa?
That is not, but I will add it before it goes out.
Let's add it. Someone else mentions the Good Memories Choir that their mother is participating in. Did we have a link or information?
That is the one I mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, terrific. Some comments on how great the video was, which is Teepa's she really gives us the skills. Even though she's talking about working in institutional settings, so much transfers to the one-on-one home environment. And Pam wanted people to know that the Barrington Area Council on Aging is hosting a dementia educational conference in Willow Creek on September 21st. It's just one of many programs out there in the area. Hopefully folks can get information on that. And Teepa Snow is their conference speaker. So
Wow.
How timely and appropriate, and seeing Teepa talk in person would be amazing. And then let's get to this question, see if we can take a couple minutes. One of our participants asked the question, what's the best way to handle a situation when the person with dementia wants to do things that they cannot really do safely anymore? My family member gets upset when others try to help her cook, but she forgets when she has something cooking. Sometimes she walks away. Sometimes the others in the household have actually found fully cooked food in the oven that they didn't know were there. So the question of what's the best way to handle that? Lisa, Melissa, do you want to take this on?
Ooh, well, I think one of the things that I would try, it is, it is a safety concern, and obviously safety has to come first. But I would also encourage, if this person is living alone, that would be a safety concern about if your stove should still be connected, if they should still have the ability to have, such items at their disposal without supervision. I would say that probably one of the best ways, if there's anyone who can cook alongside, or, get simpler things that could be cooked with a little bit more ease. But kitchen safety comes up all of the time with clients who have cognitive impairments. And I think that by scaling it down or having others participate in the process and letting them do it for as long as they can, and to do as much of the cooking as they possibly can, or the safe parts of the cooking while they're under the supervision of another person.
This is where I would get really creative about what is the need underneath this, right? And so I think it has to do with wanting to feel useful, wanting to feel like you're contributing. So whether it's like Melissa said, doing that cooking along safely, or asking the person for help, calling them in. And so with something that they can accomplish safely, and also maybe getting creative about having people write recipes, like connecting with that need to cook and to share in other creative ways. So if somebody's trying to do that in a situation that's not safe, oh, tell me how you make it. I want to hear your technique. Take notes, things like that. So really connecting to what that need is underneath.
I love what you're saying. It's that person-centered thinking, always respecting the full personhood, that idea. This is something this person is really important to them. It's been their role. It's been what they've done for the family. So bringing the family into the process. Can you teach me? Can you show me? Don't cook that without me. I want to be there as much as possible. Show me how you did that. What'd you do? Really affirming their skill in the kitchen. We don't want to negate the personhood and who they are. Although, as Melissa says, we're always, all of us, needing to assess risk and safety. It's a difficult and important conversation and issue that every family needs to think about, especially as the dementia process is advancing. Wonderful.
We're right at noon, so I'll give the closing remarks very quickly. So thank you all for attending. As you leave the webinar, there will be an evaluation that should pop up. Please do take time to complete the program evaluation so we know if this was useful, and give us any ideas about future programming you'd like to see. Copies of the handouts will be sent via email. There will also be a link to our website where the recording of this program and other insights on aging recordings can be found. Our next program will be on May 12th. I'll be presenting on resilience and its importance to mental health and aging. May is National Mental Health Month, and a great time to talk about resilience and aging. Thank you all so much for joining us. We do hope the program has been informative and enlightening, and please be aware resources will be heading your way after this. So much all. Take care.